Hello everyone. The story of Tu Diep and Jame is a touching journey of love, perseverance, and the joy of welcoming a tiny new life growing inside her. From the moment they discover the good news to the heartfelt sharing with family, their love overcomes all challenges and becomes the strong foundation for a new family filled with love. If you enjoy heartfelt and meaningful stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our upcoming exciting content. Thank you all for being with us on this journey. Tu Diep sat quietly on the small chair in the bathroom, her hands trembling as she held the pregnancy test. She had waited a few minutes that felt like an eternity. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing in her mind, which was filled with anticipation. Then, as the two red lines slowly became visible on the test strip, she couldn't believe her eyes. 2 lines. Clear and unmistakable. Her eyes widened, staring at the result. 1 second, 2 seconds, and then, joy burst forth like a dam breaking. Tears welled up and rolled down her cheeks. She instinctively covered her mouth, not wanting to cry out, not because of sadness, but because of overwhelming emotion. A tiny life was now growing inside her, a part of both her and Jame, the man she loved with all her heart. In the past months, Tu Diep and Jame had been through so much. They had faced opposition, endured suspicious and judgmental looks from others, and at times, nearly let go of each other. But through it all, their love had stayed strong and resilient. And now, that love had blossomed into new life, beating its first rhythms inside her. Tu Diep gently placed a hand on her belly, still flat, but now the first home of their child. A soft smile spread across her face, her eyes brimming with love and gratitude. She wasn't just happy because she was going to be a mother, she was happy because this precious gift had arrived at such a perfect time. Jame's birthday was just around the corner. She knew he would be surprised. He would be moved. And surely, he would be just as overjoyed as she was now. She stood up, carefully placing the test into a small, lovely gift box, tying it with a ribbon like the most precious present of all. Her heart raced as she imagined Jame's face when he opened it. He would be stunned, he'd probably ask in disbelief, and then, his eyes would light up, his smile would be the happiest she'd ever seen. Tu Diep believed it. She knew him well, the man who had stood beside her through every storm. The small room felt flooded with light, even though it was still gray outside. Tu Diep felt light as air, as though she had just stepped into a new chapter of her life. A chapter full of love, hope, and new beginnings. She was no longer just a girl dreaming of a little family, now, that dream was coming true. And in that moment, Tu Diep closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you for coming to me, my child. I will do everything to make you happy." That evening, the air in their small apartment was filled with warmth. Soft yellow light gently spread across the room, reflecting on Tu Diep's face, which carried a hint of nervous anticipation. She had carefully prepared everything for Jame's birthday, a simple yet heartfelt celebration. On the table sat a modest cake she had baked herself. It wasn't perfect, but it was filled with love. Most important of all was the special gift, placed neatly inside a small box tied with a blue ribbon, Jame's favorite color. Jame walked in with a bright smile, just in time for dinner. As soon as he saw her, he pulled her into his arms, and it felt as if the weariness of his day melted away in that embrace. After they finished their meal, Tu Diep quietly placed the gift box on the table, gently pushing it toward him. Her eyes sparkled with a mixture of joy and nervous excitement. "Happy birthday," she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. Jame looked at her curiously, then slowly opened the box. For a brief moment, when he saw the pregnancy test inside, his expression froze. He looked at her, then back at the test. The two red lines were unmistakable, etched clearly into his mind. You're really pregnant?" he asked, his voice low, as though he needed to hear it aloud to believe it. Tu Diep didn't speak, she simply nodded, lips pressed tightly together to keep from crying. Her eyes brimmed with tears, and in her gaze was a universe of love and hope. Then, in the blink of an eye, Jame's face lit up completely. He didn't say another word. He just rushed forward and wrapped his arms around her, holding her tight as if trying to pour all of his emotions and happiness into that one embrace. He kissed her forehead, tender yet powerful. She leaned her head against his shoulder, listening to his heartbeat, which was racing as fast as her own. "Thank you, Tu Diep. Thank you for bringing me something so miraculous," he whispered. In their quiet little room, there was no loud music, no dazzling fireworks, just the two of them, holding each other, embracing the most sacred gift life could offer. The room was silent, but their hearts were dancing in pure joy. Tu Diep looked up into his eyes. "I wanted to wait until today to tell you, because I knew this would make your birthday more complete than anything else ever could." Jame smiled and squeezed her hand tightly. "I've never wished for anything for myself. But now, I wish for one thing, that we raise this child together with all the love we have. You and our baby are my family. My everything." Outside, the night breeze gently rustled the white curtains by the window. In that small room, love had found a new milestone, and a new journey awaited them, a journey into parenthood. And for them, it was the beginning of something more beautiful than any dream. The next morning, soft rays of sunlight filtered gently through the curtains, bathing the room in a warm, golden glow. Lytulinda woke up in Jame's arms, her heart still echoing with the happiness of the night before. She turned to look at him, the man who was no longer just her lover, but soon to be the father of her child. They smiled at each other without saying a word, just one look was enough to convey everything. After a simple breakfast, Jame suddenly took her hand, his eyes filled with determination. "I want to take you to see my mother. We need to tell her the news. I believe she'll be happy." Tu Diep hesitated for a moment. Jame's mother, Mrs. Trin, was a strict, traditional woman who had always maintained a certain distance from her. Though she had never been harsh or unkind, her gaze was always reserved, her demeanor cold. More than once, Tu Diep had felt she wasn't quite good enough in the eyes of Jame's mother, and that thought had weighed heavily on her. But today, what filled her wasn't fear, it was a quiet hope. She believed that the little life growing inside her might be the bridge between them, the gentle light that could melt the invisible walls of the past. The car moved silently down the familiar road leading to Jame's family villa. The elegant white house sat peacefully in the middle of a lush green garden, just as serene as ever. As they stepped inside, Tu Diep could hear the sound of her own heartbeat. Each step felt louder than the last in the quiet air of the house. Mrs. Trin was sitting on the long sofa in the living room, holding a book. When she saw her son and Tu Diep walk in together, she gave a slight nod, her expression as unreadable as always. Jame sat beside her, taking her hand gently. "Mom," he began, his voice calm but laced with a hint of nervousness, "Tu Diep and we're having a baby. We wanted you to be the first in the family to know." There was a moment of silence. Tu Diep held her breath, watching closely for any sign of reaction from Mrs. Trin. Then, something unexpected happened, her stern expression softened, and in her eyes, something shifted. The severity gave way to a quiet emotion, tender and sincere. She placed the book down and reached out, gently taking Tu Diep's hand. For the first time, her touch was not cold. Her voice, still steady, was suddenly softer than ever. "Congratulations to both of you. This is the most precious gift our family has ever received." Tu Diep was overwhelmed, unable to speak. In her eyes, Mrs. Trin no longer looked like the distant, difficult mother-in-law she had once feared, but instead, like a grandmother welcoming her first grandchild with an open heart. The atmosphere in the room warmed immediately. Jame smiled and gave Tu Diep's hand a reassuring squeeze. All the worries, misunderstandings, and silent distance of the past seemed to dissolve in that moment. And from that moment on, a true family began to take shape, not just between two people in love, but across 3 generations, united by love, trust, and the presence of a tiny life gently growing in the womb of a young mother.